Now you are going to improve your English in English. In other words, by using only English. You can do this. Remember, as a learner, you should move forward step by step. When you move forward, you arrive at this stage. At this stage, you learn English in English. You learn English in English. You understand English in English. You try to understand English in English. You can do this. You have to train your brain into English. You have to train your brain to think in English, to understand in English. You can do this. Now, we can pay our attention to the content. I will explain the content in English, and I will be using more and more sentences, more and more simple sentences to explain the content. I'll try my best to be slow so that you can understand easily. I will try my best to be slow so that you can understand easily. Now look at this sentence. Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear imminent collapse of the industry amidst free flow canned fish imports into the country despite the temporary import suspension announced by the Ministry of Fisheries. This is a sentence. This is one sentence. But you can understand. I will use simple sentences and short sentences to explain the content. Then it is sure that you understand the entire content. If you do not understand the meaning of some words, what you should do is to take down the word and you can find the meaning in a dictionary. Now look at the content again. Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear. Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear. Fear is a verb in this sentence. Fear. That is the main verb. The subject is manufacturers. Manufacturers fear. What manufacturers? Canned fish manufacturers. We talk about Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers. We talk about Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers. So Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear. They fear. These manufacturers fear. What do they fear? They fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry. There will be an imminent collapse of the industry. They fear. Imminent is an adjective. Imminent is an adjective. Imminent is an adjective. It has the meaning likely to happen very soon. About to happen very soon. In the near future, it will happen. Likely to happen very soon. Imminent collapse. So this is an imminent collapse. Then they fear an imminent collapse. They fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry. Collapse. If you do not understand the word collapse is a verb. Collapse is a noun. In this example, collapse is a noun. It has the meaning a sudden breakdown. A sudden breakdown. These manufacturers fear that there will be an imminent breakdown, an imminent collapse of the industry. Why do they think, or why do they fear? Why do they fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry? There is a reason. Amidst free flow canned fish imports into the country. Amidst, in the middle of, free flow canned fish imports into the country. In this example, imports is a noun, that is a plural noun. To explain the content, I will use a different language. Because there is a free flow of canned fish imports into the country. Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry because there is a free flow of canned fish imports into the country. Flow, the river flows into the sea. The river flows through the jungle. Then flow is a verb, but in this example, flow is a noun. There is a free flow of canned fish imports into the country. Then these manufacturers fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry because there is a free flow of canned fish imports into the country. Despite the temporary import suspension announced by the Ministry of Fisheries. I will use a different word. However, the Ministry of Fisheries has announced a temporary import suspension. In another way, even though there is a temporary import suspension announced by the ministry, I can use a more simple sentence. However, the Ministry of Fisheries has stopped the import of canned fish. The Ministry of Fisheries has stopped the import of canned fish temporarily. So that is a temporary decision made by the Ministry of Fisheries. So the Ministry of Fisheries has announced it. What has the Ministry of Fisheries announced? The Ministry of Fisheries has announced that the ministry has suspended the ministry has stopped the import of canned fish. But that is a temporary suspension. That is a temporary suspension. That is a temporary import suspension. Remember, the ministry has announced that they have stopped the import of canned fish. But that is a temporary suspension, or the ministry has stopped it temporarily. Remember that. So now you can understand the content. Sri Lanka's canned fish manufacturers fear that there will be an imminent collapse of the industry because there is a free flow of canned fish imports into the country, even when the Ministry of Fisheries has announced that the ministry has suspended, or the ministry has stopped the import of canned fish temporarily. I think you can understand. So that is how we understand certain things in English. When we understand these things in English, or when we try to understand some content in English, at first you will struggle. You will struggle to understand. But when you try to understand a content of this type, or when you continue to understand a content of this type, in the future you will be very successful, and you will understand that you have improved your English. You can subscribe to my channel.